We all know the story. A man is sitting under a tree, an apple falls on his head, and boom, he suddenly discovers gravity. But did it really happen that way? The truth is a little different, but the real story of Isaac Newton is even more fascinating. Today we're going to travel back to the 17th century to meet the man who, without computers or modern technology, managed to decode the hidden rules that make our universe work. Get ready to meet the greatest genius in history. Our story begins on Christmas Day in 1642 in a small village in England. Isaac Newton was born premature and so tiny that no one thought he would survive. His father had died before he was born, and his mother left him with his grandmother when he was just 3 years old. This turned him into a lonely, introverted child who preferred building miniature windmills and sundials rather than playing with other kids. Even though his mother wanted him to be a farmer, something he was an absolute disaster at, his intelligence was undeniable. He managed to get into the prestigious Cambridge University. There, instead of settling for what his professors taught him, he began devouring the books of the most modern thinkers of his time. He wanted to understand how nature worked. But in 1665, something happened that changed the world. The Great Plague struck England. The university closed down, and Newton, at 22 years old, had to return to his family's farm to quarantine. What was a boring lockdown for many, for Newton was his year of wonders. During those months of isolation, he invented an entirely new branch of mathematics. Calculus, figured out how optics worked, and yes, he saw that famous apple fall. The apple didn't hit him on the head, but seeing it fall made him ask a revolutionary question. If gravity pulls the apple to the ground, could that same invisible force be what keeps the moon spinning around the Earth? Sure enough, he discovered that the exact same rules that applied to small things on Earth also governed the planets and the stars. He had unified the heavens and the Earth. But Newton didn't stop there. He was also obsessed with light. One day, in his dark room, he let in a single ray of sunlight and placed a glass prism in its path. He proved that white light isn't pure, but is actually made up of all the colors of the rainbow. Thanks to this, he invented a new type of telescope using mirrors instead of lenses. A design so brilliant that it's the exact same one used by giant space telescopes today. Despite all these discoveries, Newton was such a perfectionist and hated criticism so much that he didn't publish his ideas for years. That is, until his friend, the astronomer Edmund Halley, yes, the one with the comet, convinced him. And so, in 1687, his masterpiece was born, the Principia Mathematica. In this book, Newton gave us the 3 laws of motion that we use for everything, from building a car to launching a rocket into space. Every object stays still unless you push it. The more mass it has, the more force you need, and for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You might think he was the flawless scientist, but Newton had a very mysterious side. He spent more of his life studying alchemy, trying to turn lead into gold, and searching for secret codes in the Bible than he did studying physics. What's more, in his later years, he left science to become the warden of the Royal Mint, where he ruthlessly hunted down counterfeiters in the dark alleyways of London. As a person, Newton wasn't easy to get along with. He held grudges, was a loner, and got into terrible feuds with other scientists who dared to question him. But his impact was so massive that he became a living legend, becoming the first scientist in history to be knighted by the Queen of England. Isaac Newton died in 1727. He summed up his own success with a phrase that has gone down in history: "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." He taught us that the universe doesn't run on magic, but on mathematical laws that we can understand. And today, more than 300 years later, we still see the world through the eyes of that lonely child who dreamed of understanding the stars.